made a lot of notes about the presentation. I've entitled it NFL Disability 2012. As Dave mentioned, there have been some baby step improvements, and under the CBA that went into effect in the fall, there are some really pretty good improvements for the guys who are still playing or younger players who have just recently retired. For those of the older guys like Dave that suffered at the hands of the plan, terrible injustice. I fully support everything he said about the deficiencies of the adjudication of his claims. There really isn't a lot of help or relief, and I think that was, again, a real shortcoming of the plan. But I want to talk, I'm going to hit several different disability topics. I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that are in the new CBA regarding disability, and give you my thoughts on them. The biggest improvement, perhaps, is that now a player does not need to show that his disability is football related. So I've had a few clients in the past few months who have retired within the last 5 to 10 years, and they've been able to get the full disability benefit, even though they have medical problems that are not necessarily football related. Yet I'm still litigating a couple of cases over the issue of whether or not the player's disability is football related, including that of Jimmy Giles. That's now scheduled for oral argument in federal court in Maryland at the end of May. While this is an improvement for these guys, that they won't need to show that their total disability is from football, my thoughts on it, having dealt so closely with this for the past few years, is that the main reason for that is the league, in conjunction with the PA, really kind of wants to hide the connection between football and becoming disabled. And I think that's been the problem all along. I don't really think it was so much a matter of they didn't want to pay the players. Obviously the money can be pretty good, but I think it was more they didn't want to have to admit how many guys became totally disabled by playing the game of football. And why is that? In my thoughts, it's because I don't think the NFL wants Congress or the Department of Labor to come in and start writing the rules of football. Those are my thoughts. One of the other improvements that does affect guys who are currently on disability, I call it a bit of a booby trap. They now will let a player who's on total and permanent disability earn up to $30,000 per year without jeopardizing your benefits. And that's great. And you know, there's some guys that might get some money for appearances, speeches, card signings, whatever, and I think that's great for those guys. But where I see the trap is that most, but not all guys who are on total and permanent with the league are receiving their Social Security disability benefits. Social Security's limitation on earnings is no more than $12,000 a year. And you know, I don't have to tell you, you can see now how many guys are going to screw that up. You know, and what will then happen, here's the scenario I see, is a guy, first of all, the IRS and Social Security talk to each other. So if you earn any money that's reported to the IRS, file a tax return, have a 1099, W-2, whatever, that information is given to Social Security. And if you're on disability, it raises up and they will start looking at it. So I envision some guy who's going to go and earn $15,000. Not a lot of money, no big deal. And they haul him into Social Security and they're going to cut him off. And he's going to say, but I thought I could earn $30,000 a year. I mean, I see it now. So Social Security is going to say, no, that's not our rules. I don't know where you got that. And they will cease his benefits. Well, guys that are on total and permanent disability now have to send in a statement every year indicating that they're still on Social Security disability so that the plan's not looking at them. Well, these guys are going to get ceased, and then they're going to not have the information to give to the plan that shows they're still on Social Security. So what's the plan going to do? Well, they could cut them off outright, but most likely they might do something real generous like send them to one of the plan doctors. Now, you know, so good luck. Another...
So John, are you saying that the guys that are on disability now, that you have to go back to see the doctor a year, or you know, every year to get another evaluation?
Well, I'm saying if a guy goes over this earnings limit for Social Security, thinking that he can earn more money because the plan now allows 30, Social Security will cut them off. So if Social Security cuts them off, I would think that the plan will then send them to see one of their doctors, and Dave's already explained. Yeah, Bruce?
And John, wasn't there a rule at one time that every 5 years they asked you to go back to see the doctor again?
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to say. Under the plan, unless when they put you on disability, they think that you're specifically going to improve in the near future, they sort of diary your case for review in 5 years. However, I think the guys who are on Social Security disability, they won't have any actual medical review. Now, Social Security itself is supposed to review people about every 3 years, but to take you off of Social Security disability, you'd have to have either engaged in substantial gainful activity over the limit, or your medical condition is substantially improved. But I see a lot of guys that are going to get caught up. They're going to be confused about how much they could earn. Another change in the plan is that the Disability Initial Claims Committee, or the DICC, or as one of the Groom Law Group attorney refers to it, the DIC, it's one person from the PA and one person from the league, and they consider the disability applications at the initial level. And in the up to date, if they were split, if one decided the person was disabled but the other said no, he's not disabled, that was a deemed denial. The guy was denied and he could then appeal it to the board. What they're going to do now in those situations is have a medical professional make the deciding vote. Now, I don't know who the medical professional will be. I don't know if they'll have just one person who has one medical specialty. I don't know if they might be trying to give Dr. Casson another job, but we'll have to see how that plays out. The next change, I don't want to necessarily call it an improvement, is the plan now calls for the use of an arbitrator if there's a dispute in a disability claim. And again, we don't have all the details of this yet, and I think the wording is a little bit confusing. They say that if there is a benefit dispute, they don't say a benefit denial. So they say if there's a benefit dispute, the case can go to an arbitrator. And both sides can take depositions of the witnesses, and there can be essentially an administrative hearing in front of the arbitrator. Now, when they say benefit dispute, not a denial, and they talk about both sides, I'm confused. Does that mean that the NFL is one side and the PA is the other side? Which was, I believe, the situation when you had your first line of duty claim, Dave? The PA was on one side and the NFL was on the other. Or do they mean that the two parties are the plan versus the player and his attorney? I don't know. Players will still have the right, though, to file in federal court under ERISA. Now, perhaps the most highly touted
new benefit in the CBA regarding disability is the neurocognitive benefit. I remember Brent Boyd calling me when he heard about this, and he was so excited. He thought this was something he might be able to take advantage of. Well, he can't. Dave can't. Bruce can't. George Visker can't. And why is that? Well, I'll tell you, here's what the qualifications are. Number one, you got to be vested. That rules George out. You have to be not on retirement benefits. That would rule out a lot of you guys. Or line of duty benefits. You can't be on total and permanent disability. That would rule Dave out. You need to be under 55 years old. And since Bruce just turned 56, he'd be out of luck. And the other requirement of this is that you sign a waiver releasing, that you will not sue the NFL or anybody else regarding your cognitive problems. Now, I spoke at a seminar, sports law seminar in California last fall, and I was on the same panel with D. Smith. And when I got up to give my talk, I asked him a question about this benefit. I said, I do not know who could take advantage of this benefit. The way I read it, the only person who could maybe take advantage of it is a vested player under 55 who is still working, okay? But you've got to have a mild or more severe cognitive deficit to get this. So how could you be continuing to work with that kind of a deficit? And of course, he did not answer the question. I still have not received an answer. And again, so I just don't see who's going to benefit by this. And a new term I threw into Dave's vocabulary some time ago was, I think this is what we call an illusory benefit. It's an illusion that there is any real benefit there. And I think, I could be wrong, I would love to know if anybody ever qualifies for this, but I think it was thrown in for public relations. They had to tell the public, the media, Congress, oh, we're taking care of our guys. You agree with me, Doctor?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's exactly why they did it. They go back and tell Congress, look, we gave them a benefit. The fact that they made it so that you can't use it is beside the point. My golly, Congress, we're taking care of these guys.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to hear a doctor confirm that for me. However, let me throw this in, and this is free legal advice. Should any of you qualify for this benefit, and should you sign the waiver of your right not to sue, I think you can, if you then want to sue, I think you can, because if you have a cognitive deficit severe enough to qualify, you probably don't have the sufficient mental capacity to waive your rights. Okay, all right. All right. Think about it. So for any of you, and it also fits in with the fact that it is an illusory benefit. If any of you do go ahead and you are qualified for this benefit, you want the money, take it, you sign the waiver, I think you can get around that very easily, because to properly waive your rights, you've got to have sufficient mental capacity, sufficient cognitive capacity. So if you've got a cognitive impairment severe enough to qualify, you kind of don't have the capacity to, as my brother Bruce and I, he told you yesterday, we say this frequently, you can't make this shit up. I want to, one thing that I think has led to a lot more guys getting on the planned disability, and it's really been going on since about 2008, effective back in 2007, was if you qualify for Social Security disability, they have to accept you as being disabled under the plan, unless at least 4 members of the plan say that you've got it by fraud. I don't know how they do that, but now that still only applies to guys who are under 55. So if you're over 55 and just get on Social Security, that's not going to help you. But for younger guys, I still think that is the best way to qualify. Social Security is not easy. It is not a cakewalk, but we have thousands and thousands and thousands of regulations, rulings, case law. And for example, when I have a disability case with Social Security, I know what I need to do to prove the case. I know that a treating physician's opinion is going to be given great weight. And I know what the specific criteria is. In general, it's that you cannot work on a full-time sustained basis when we consider all your impairments. I don't know that with the plan. As Dave mentioned, you know, they're still using the same questionnaires with their doctors that they've been using before they took a Social Security determination into account. And it doesn't set forth how many pounds a guy could lift and carry. It doesn't set forth how many hours he might be able to walk, sit, stand, those sort of things. And you need to compile those in consideration of an 8-hour day, 5-day work week to determine whether a person is disabled. Social Security does that. The plan doesn't. So again, I still think that's the best way to try to qualify for planned disability. George, you had a question?
Yeah, real quick. I was writing when you were talking about the best way to qualify.
Can you speak up a little bit more?
Yeah, George, why
Or
don't
go
you
to
use
the
the microphone, please.
I'm sorry, I was writing when you said the best way to qualify, was it for SDI?
No, I think the best way to qualify for total and permanent disability under the plan,
Okay, this is
assuming
the
you're
plan's-
vested.
This is the plan's TMP, not Social
Right.
Security.
Right, is if you win Social
Got
Security.
it, okay.
Conrad.
Could you follow up on that? I think they can hear me without the microphone. So let's say someone is getting disability because he was on Social Security disability, right?
Right.
And then because he can earn $30,000, he ends up earning $30,000, but he loses his Social Security disability. Will the plan take his disability away too?
They really haven't set up the rules.
Good, he can lose Social Security and the plan.
They haven't really set up the rules on what they will do in that situation, but what I would assume they would do is then send them to see their plan physicians. And again, one of the very good things about Social Security disability is we have to consider all of a person's impairments in combination. And that's the guys that I see. It's usually a combination. It's part orthopedic, part neurological, part cognitive. You got to put that all together. But if the plan sends you to see doctors, they'll send you to an orthopedist over here. And then they'll send you to a psychologist over here. And so both of them might say, well, from an orthopedic standpoint, he's got limitations, but he can work. And the psychologist says, well, he's got some limitations, but maybe they're not severe enough to work. But you got to put them together to see if the person can work on a full-time sustained basis. The plan doesn't do that. They don't take vocational aspects of disability into consideration. And as Dave mentioned, they don't have any experts up there. Essentially, the people on the retirement board are volunteers. I have no idea whatsoever if they get any training. I don't think they do. And so they rely on these plan doctors to make a decision for them, but the doctor's decision isn't always complete, doesn't take in the whole picture.
So John, so say a guy, pre-93 guy, wants to go try to get his disability. So he calls up the Bert Bell plan, right? And he talks to the ladies up there, and then they send you the paperwork out, right? You fill the paperwork out, send it back. Then they schedule appointments for you for doctors. I assume there's doctors now that are their doctors, the same doctors that are there. They don't use different doctors, or they?
Yeah, they usually find the doctor who's most conveniently located 4 states away to send you for an exam.
Yeah, they just drive. Yeah.
If I
No,
could,
but hey, Gary, if you've won Social Security disability and you give it to the plan, they'll accept that. They're not going to send it to the doctors under the current.
That's still being under 55, John.
Yeah, still being under 55. Now, here's a situation, I don't want to confuse you too much or get too technical, because obviously it can be. To get Social Security disability insurance, which is essentially the same plan as Social Security retirement. It's like an insurance plan. You're paying the premiums when you're working and their FICA taxes are taken out, or you pay self-employment tax. And you need to be currently insured to get disability. So if you've worked steadily, generally you're going to have this insured status coverage for about 5 years afterwards. But after that, if you become disabled after you have the insured coverage, you're out of luck. So what I'm seeing with a number of players these days is they don't take a job after football. So let's say a guy retired in '94, doesn't work, and he has insured status for Social Security probably through 1999. And then he becomes disabled in 2001. He can't get Social Security disability because he doesn't have the insured status. Now, he can file his claim with the plan, and they'll send him to their doctors. Hope I didn't lose you all there.
If I could just add my experience when I applied for the line of duty in '83, which I was denied, even though I met the percentage of qualification. And in '95, when I applied for total and permanent disability, you have to pay for your own transportation to the doctor. Okay, so it's not like they're setting it up for you.
No, that's in the past, Dave.
Oh,
yeah, that was back at that time. That was the case. They've changed that. They will now They will now pay.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Although I had a client who lives in Columbus, Ohio, who is scheduled for an examination with a doctor in Durham, North Carolina, that was slated to take all day. And the next morning, the plan set him up with an exam in Charlotte, North Carolina, which was 300 miles away. How am I going to do this?
So you're saying that the current players that make millions and millions of dollars, when they get out of it and they want to retire from the NFL, they better find a job. Because if they don't have a job, they'll never get Social Security disability and never get disability from the NFL.
Yes.
They have to have earned income in 5 years.
Yes.
They can't live off their investments. They have to have a job with, earned income.
Correct. And that's, I'd be surprised if anybody at the PA knows that, or if they do, they're not telling these guys. And I'm seeing it more and more with the younger players who had made more money, and they're able to live successfully off their savings for a few years, but then by the time, with their injuries degenerating with more time and age, and they're ready to file for disability, they're out of luck for Social Security. And obviously the plan doctors do say some guys are disabled, but that's not the common story.
John, do you know how many guys right now are on total and permanent disability through the NFL?
I don't. Somebody yesterday cited a figure, it was from a few years ago, that there was only 300.
317 and 205.
Yeah, but that was before they accepted Social Security. So I'm sure it's higher.
Safer to be agreed, safer to play football than be involved in those places.
The next thing I want to talk to, which has been touched on by Dave and others, which I think is a huge problem, is the plan's failure of their fiduciary duty towards retired players. They have a duty of skill and care in the handling of their disability claims. I think they're woefully inadequate in that regard. And at the application level, the administrative level, when a guy files a claim with the plan, or if that's denied and he files with the board is not supposed to be your adversary. They're supposed to treat you in a fiduciary capacity. And in simpler terms, you know, they're not supposed to give away the candy store. They're not supposed to put you on disability because you got a couple of chronic sprained ankles. But they are supposed to thoroughly look at your case and do what they can to assist you where they need to and help you perfect your case. They just don't do that. And I have to say that I've been particularly surprised, disappointed, and frustrated that the PA isn't more of an advocate for the players on the disability plan. Dave has told stories, Conrad's told stories of being discouraged by PA officials or benefit employees when they were trying to file a claim or their claim was denied. You know, that's just wrong. They should be doing what they can to help you, to advise you of your rights, etc. I've had 2 cases recently where the players applied for disability, and quite foolishly, but due to their pride, and you guys have great pride and it's well deserved, they foolishly put on their application that they were employed, and neither one was. Now the plan allows certain employment situations. This is before the $30,000. For example, they allow benevolent employment. They allow employment with a family business or charity. And one of these guys, I think he owned a single rental house and derived monthly income from that, and he put that down as a job. Well, the plan turned both of these guys down out of hand. You're working, you're employed, you're not going to get any, you're not disabled. Tremendous failure of fiduciary duty on their part. You know, Bruce, I see you applied for disability here and you got a job listed. This is Paul Scott in the benefit office. Could you give us some details about the work? Yeah, Paul, good to talk to you. I'm glad you answered my call. I own a rental house. How many? Just one. You get monthly income from it? Yes. You have a rental business where you supervise people? No, it's just, you know, somebody pays me rent on a house. Oh, well, that's not work. We'll go ahead and process your application. They don't do that. So, and then another, I think, tremendous failure is Dave mentioned the case of Dave Dewerson. And when Doug L., somebody mentioned this yesterday, when Doug L. was asked about Dewerson, Doug L. said, well, you know, when we saw him, we thought he was pretty sharp, we thought he was okay. And, oh, by the way, I think all the board decisions were unanimous. Well, to me, that's terrible, because there's got to be a number of situations, and I've seen it from my own cases, where at least one of the 3 guys representing the PA should be saying, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. Is there a problem here? We need to ask this doctor some further questions. We need to get more information here before we turn this case down. And they don't seem to be doing it. It's just in lockstep. And Conrad said it yesterday, you know, the PA's not the help that it should be. And I think that is kind of a double whammy to the failure of fiduciary duty. And as Bruce said yesterday, the PA and the NFL are in bed together. They're business partners. And I think that's, ultimately, I think that's why a lot of cases have been denied and there was such a problem with it, is the PA, rather than helping the guys, advocating for the guys, with a wink to the NFL, would say, yeah, we need to keep down the number of guys who are totally disabled due to football.
Well, just another
so wrong.
Another point, case, think about how many guys are, you know, are a game away from being vested, or a half, you know, 5 games, or, you know, away from getting vested and getting cut. You know, I wonder what that number would be. That would be interesting to find out, you know.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of, you know, a couple people have asked me, you know, how many NFL clients I have, or, you know, how many guys I'm helping, et cetera. And something I've said is, I haven't kept exact count, but I talk to at least 15 to 20 guys for every case I can accept. And almost always the reason I can't take a case is some technical reason like that. I'm not vested. I took my early retirement. I've had a number of guys who clearly would meet the criteria for line of duty. They missed the deadline by a couple days. And then I'm in the unfortunate position, you know, I think sometimes they get mad at me, you know, don't blame the messenger. You know, I didn't write the rules, and it's not that I don't want to help you, it's I can't help you. So the other thing that I wanted to mention is that under the CBA, they recognize that they do need further improvements to the disability plan. Both the PA and the NFL were supposed to appoint some members to a panel or a committee prior to October 1st to come up with some further guidance along these lines. And I volunteered my services. And you know, the guys from the PA, I mean, I don't get it. The guys from the PA, we had a huge chapter in Atlanta. They don't want to talk to me. All I'm trying to do is help retired players. You know, Cornelius Bennett, one of my former heroes with the Bills and the Falcons, you know, head of the retired players steering committee or executive committee. Hi, John, how you doing? He doesn't want to hear about disability. Nolan Harrison, they don't want to hear it. And so I tried with the NFL. You know, I tried volunteering with the NFL. I said, look, you know, I'm just concerned you don't have anybody who really knows anything about disability. I'd like to help. I'll even stop doing disability cases, but they didn't want my help, so I guess I'm stuck with you guys for a while. That's what I have on the basics of the presentation. I'll certainly be happy to answer any questions that anybody has that haven't already been asked.
Just one question. Why do they want to deny everyone disability if they have the funds there?
Conrad, again.
Why wouldn't they try to help?
Yeah, Conrad, to my mind, and I don't know that this is the case, but having done this for a long time, I think it's not the money. I think they didn't want, and they'll give you your inactive disability, as Dave found out, Brent Boyd found out. They didn't, I think they didn't want a high percent, and this is why they've taken away that you need to be, have a football connection for the higher paying category benefits. I think they just didn't want anybody, Congress, to come and say, how many guys are disabled because of football? And if there was a real high number compared to, you know, if we, for example, if we had 25, 30% of retired players disabled due to, vested players disabled due to football, Congress might say, geez, we need to get OSHA over here and start writing the rules of the game. That's the only thing I can think of. And Conrad, you know, now they can't ignore it with concussions. And on concussions, you know, if they had treated you guys right on the disability plan and perhaps continuing health benefits for your football-related problems, they wouldn't be facing the problem with these concussion lawsuits.
Let me follow up with that. So you said, and I apologize, we figured out to get what I was going to say if I don't get it out.
What?
So you're basically saying that the players today, with this new program they have on, no matter how much money they make, if they don't go to work right after they retire from football, for 5 years, they will never be able to take advantage of Social Security.
Social Security disability.
But then they would never be able to get disability either.
Well, no, they can go to the plan and go through the plan's doctors, which, you know, I've always thought is a crapshoot.
But also, if I could just say, if they can't take advantage of Social Security disability, that after you've been on Social Security disability for 2 years, you get Medicare, and that's pretty good health insurance. And if you don't qualify for Social Security disability, you don't get that either.
And John, just to go back on that because of our work with you, and I just want to let everybody know that John Hogan and I met about 5 years ago, and he's been on the board of 4th and Goal, and he's worked very closely with Dave and Robert as well. And I think everybody needs to understand, I know you lawyers do, and that's one of the reasons why. The most important thing in my work in talking about the league and the union and very intimate parts of both the league and the union, I know one thing, and I said it yesterday, it's all about business. And the other point is, the most important thing to the National Football League is that logo and that image. That image to them is what Roger Goodell is fighting for, before him Paul Tagliabue. They want to make sure why they came down on Greg Williams and all that, why they did. It was all about the image. They had to have that. So my point being, I believe John is right. I believe if the public would find out, which they probably really don't care about, let's be honest, they really don't care about it, but let's say everything went well with the disability system and it was a working machine that worked right. I don't think the NFL, or the NFLPA for that matter, would want to know that in the last 15 years, we have 2,362 players on some type of permanent, partial, whatever disability, because that doesn't look good. That's not the image. These men, big, strong, strapping guys that play the game, they did it for the love of the game, and they're getting paid a lot of money. They don't want the NFL fan or the media to know what happens to this body that looks all well and good for years. And this is what I do in Baltimore. The Baltimore Colts is made up of a great group of guys. I try and bring as many early retirees into the room, and I set them up there and I introduce them to the makers of the game, starting with Artie Donovan. And I look at and I have the guys stand up and say, okay, how long did you play? What about this? And then go over how many new hips, new knees, new body parts, how do you feel now, give your age. Because I say to these young kids, doesn't matter, man, we all believed it. 45, I felt great. Here is what you're going to look like, and here is going to be what your life is like in 15, 20 years. Don't believe anything else. There it is. Here's all these guys. Artie Donovan played 13 years, you know. And that's, again, in my humble opinion, I don't think the league ever wants that scene, because it gets to the nasty reality. It's not all beautiful.
You know, Doctor, let me just follow up on Bruce's comment and sort of throw a sideways pitch to Dave. We're all paying attention, whether we want to or not, about the presidential elections coming up. One of the single biggest issues is the economy, the budget, entitlements. As Dave mentioned, if you get on Social Security disability, you have Medicare. And that's where the real drain on the benefits is. If Dave would be kind enough or brave enough to tell us, I know he's had hundreds of thousands of dollars of surgeries paid for by the taxpayers that are no question stemming from his time in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been articles put out recently, and it's a pretty much well-known fact that Medicare is going to be bankrupt in 5 years. And they say Social Security may last another 30 years, but the big drain is the cost for medical service. And I know in my case, like I said, I'd mentioned, you know, I spent $600,000 of my own money on football injuries, and that's about what I made playing from 75 to 80. And so far, my Medicare bill was almost $300,000, but I had a hip replacement, total hip replacement 9 weeks ago, and that bill's about $75,000. So the problem is, this doesn't just end. It keeps going on and on and on. And what the NFL has done is besides not allowing disabled players access to their earned benefits, now they push it on to the taxpayers. So the guy going to work every day, breaking his back, he's putting a penny or two into paying my bill. Now, I paid into the system, but I didn't pay in $375,000. And at the end of the day, a couple more surgeries, all have passed to $500,000. So it's, you know, I don't think it's fair for the NFL to ask the taxpayers to pay their medical bills.
Dr. Duncan?
Thank you. One of the things that has struck me, just so you know, I used to be a licensed insurance agent in the state of California for disability and health. So I was involved in putting together some fairly large-sized plans for corporations. And what I've heard described here, I've done a lot of work with both bureaucracies and big businesses and health plans over the years, both in the government and in private sector. And what I'm hearing as the retirement plan is discussed, as the disability plan is discussed, is these were planned, you're discovering these various loopholes that were put into place and these various restrictions. Every one of those restrictions was likely purposefully examined when they put in the plan. Hey, we know that we'll cut out X number of people, it'll cost us X amount less. And you're correct, the image is vital to them. They are very concerned about the brain injuries now because less kids are playing football. If you have less kids playing football, it means that the pool in 10 years of new ball players coming up is going to be a lower quality of player because of how many people it takes playing high school ball to go on to college. How many people it takes college ball, let alone fans.
There is no minor leagues in the National Football League. We all know that. So where that comes from? It comes from the college community.
Correct.
It started at Pop Warner, it goes to high school to college.
And I can tell you,
think of the money, the hundreds of millions they save, unlike baseball, that have to develop single, triple, and double A teams and all that stuff.
right.
Just
So,
think about it.
and when you're going to colleges, which are very politically powerful, that college is very politically powerful. And what is their #1 generator of income? It's their college football team, right? I mean, so this is a big deal. And so this image is very important. One of the things that I would recommend is that you uniting with as many, having as large a pool as possible, come up with a remedy. The very worst meeting I ever had in Congress, my entire time there, was 6 women from India whose sons had died of AIDS and left them with grandchildren who had AIDS, and they wanted me to figure out a way to make their husbands, their daughters' husbands faithful to them. I could not come up with a remedy. The key, however, is this group could come up with a remedy that was, what would the plan be like if you could adopt an ideal plan, which is what you offered to help them do. If you could figure out an ideal plan that would correctly handle the disability, the health care, and yeah, not having football as the source.
Probably 3 years ago. I've actually, written and rewritten a plan, numerous times, and then with the Eller1 lawsuit where we intervened, we submitted detailed disability proposals, pension proposals, et cetera. I mean, it's not that we haven't offered solutions. They don't want to hear it.
Well, that's true. So then you go to the other market, which is how educating Congress about, look, these are the simple things we've asked for. And
thank you.
Again, I'm just, whoops, trying to ask this for clarification of, with the Screen Actors Guild, we actually have a disability health plan, and then we have an occupational disability health plan. The difference is the disability health, this is with the trustees. The disability health plan, they'll give you the pension. The occupational disability health plan, they will give you pension and health. And it's the occupational disability health plan that they're not giving us, or not even telling the members about. So just again, for clarification, with the NFL, you only have one thing that's called disability in your...
Well, there's several forms of it, but it doesn't give you health benefits.
Okay, so within your pension plan, it's completely separate, or there is no health plan with the pension plan?
No. Retired players now get, is it 5 years?
5 years, right.
5 years. After that, you're out of luck. And that's the thing. And again, unless you are lucky enough to get, like Ron Mix was talking about, workers' compensation, maybe if you've got a devastating injury, maybe the best thing is lifetime medical. But that only covers, who said it? George. If his knee or his brain is a problem, he's all set. But if he's got a problem with the ticker or liver and kidneys, he's got a big problem. So again, a lot of the health care NFL, certainly the disabled NFL players, is being paid by the taxpayers through Medicare.
And I'll agree with you. It seems like the trustees have no medical knowledge, no fiduciary knowledge for either of our groups. Thank you.
Thank you. Isaiah?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
First of all, I want to say thanks to all you guys for allowing me to stop by and just to reunite with some people that I have the utmost of love and respect for. I am a union man, and I feel that we have made a lot of progress. And I think that I just wanted to thank you. I think it's time I need to not be here because I work so hard in Dallas. We've given more money away to retired players than any other chapter. Ron Springs and some of the Tony Dorsett, some of the other guys that Robert Newhouse had a stroke. We are trying to get better. I do see some of the issues that I respect. I respect every guy in here. That's one of the reasons why I love the game of football. I don't know why we can't fix a lot of this, but evidently, from what I'm hearing, is that people have a different of opinion, and some of it's probably true, and some of it's probably not true. Everybody's saying the same mumbo jumbo. He's blaming him, he's blaming him. The players are the ones who are suffering. And so I just hope that in our lifetime, that from the hard work that a lot of you guys are doing, that some good may come out of it. But I just don't understand. I don't understand that if a player needed something, that his local chapter or somebody couldn't go and represent him and help him get what he needed to get. I don't know why that they can't change some of these things that you all are talking about. Makes common sense to me that things need to be changed, and but why, I don't know. And so
yeah, Isaiah, thanks for coming and for the work you do, and the charitable work. Charity begins at home, and there's nothing greater than helping your brothers who have problems. The fabulous work that Bruce and Fourth and Goal have done, the help that Dave and Robert have given through the blog, the fabulous work that the Gridiron Greats are doing, et cetera. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
But if we had adequate pensions, decent health care, and a responsive disability system, we wouldn't be in the position where we needed to give you know, hither and yon charity to guys.
And I see your point, and I respect it. How do you change it, though? How do you,
well,
know, other than
yeah, you know, from my perspective, and I'm not a former player, but I've been in the thick of it for a long time. Again, I've told you, I've had one of the biggest retired players chapters is in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked with Dewey McLean a number of times. I said, Dewey, you know, here's the disability problems, here's the plan, let me come and explain it to guys. They don't want to hear it.
Leadership.
Yeah, and Isaiah, as an outsider, and before I got involved in this, it was amazing to me, the retired players who had come to me looking for help, they didn't know where to go for answers. As I say, I want to send bills to the plan or the PA just for answering guys' questions. I've always thought, yeah, the PA should stand up for guys. They should advocate for guys. When I was in college, I was in the laborers union, and you know, if a guy got a DUI or a guy needed a divorce or a guy needed a loan, you go talk to your union steward.
Yeah.
You know, the brothers are families, but from what I've seen from the PA, they're just not helping the retired guys other than little charity here and there and socialization.
Do you see that in other unions, other industries, where the former employees, retirees, get so little support from the union itself?
I'm not a labor law expert, but I don't, and I'm not aware of it. And I've actually spent a lot of time talking to some various AFL-CIO people in the last few years. And the thing is, legally, there was I think it was a steelworkers union case that came out years ago, and it said that the retirees don't have their own rights, it's the active union members. But the thing is, if you were in the steelworkers union, the pipe fitters union, Teamsters, whatever, you know, you had the job for 30 or 35 years, you were retired for 5 or 10. Football is just completely the opposite, it's upside down.
I'm going to close by saying that I wish you guys the best of luck in what you're trying to do. Anything that I can do to bring us together, I'm willing to do that. Sometimes that maybe there's no fix to some of these problems we have other than legal or whatever. Mm-hmm. But all I'm going to do is try to do the best I can to help every player that crossed my plate in Dallas, across this country, giving them the kind of great information you provided today. But I'm a linebacker. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a friggin' workman comp guy. I love every one of you, and I just think it's a little friggin' sad. I think it's sad that we got to fight like that amongst each other, and it's hard for me. You open your heart to me and allowed me here, and I love you guys for it. And one of y'all.